Hello and welcome to my new blog, journal, digital journal series, whatever you want to call it, called Not Alone. Essentially, what I'm going to be doing is going to be talking about my grief slash depression, and it can also include anxiety into that about basically about my mother's passing, which happened a week ago now. As of the date I am recording this, it is Monday, the 25th of May. That was it, I remember now. So, to put into perspective, really, what this series is going to be about is every week I'm going to be basically talking about myself, my experiences, and also a different subject will be spoken about as well. Today I'm going to be going into death and grief as a subject as a whole, just a quick talk about my feelings on that. And then every week's going to be a different topic about me and others I know as well. I'll be talking about them. And essentially, what I hope to achieve from this is to have a documentation of my progress into coming to acceptance with my mother's death and how I overcame this depression slash anxiety that comes with it. It's not the first time I have experienced this. I have experienced depression and anxiety before in my life. I won't go into that right now, but I will go into that into future parts of this series. So to start it off, really, I'm going to be starting off with grief and death. Some aspects might be a bit philosophical, and some aspects might be a bit out there with my thoughts on this. So I apologise if it's not quite light-hearted to start off with, but future topics will be a bit more light-hearted in areas, and just talk. Sometimes I might just be talking about certain hobbies I'm into, and I'll be just talking about that as a whole. Plus, as well, I'm making this public because I'm hoping whoever finds these videos, or any friends who want to watch my progress of this, then I'm happy to express this to them, and hopefully they can get something from it. The fact that people can listen to it, and if it helps them, that makes me really happy, because even if it's just one person who watches one of these clips and gets a bit of motivation or a bit of hope from it, anything, then I'm amazed, and make me happy. So and I think it's important as well with these situations to be open and honest as one can be, because in my younger days, like I said before, when I experienced these types of things, that keeping it in and not expressing your feelings out and keeping them bottled up is not a good way to do it, and in the long run it'll just eat you up and turn the sweetest of things bitter in reality. So that's what this is also for as well. So it's kind of to help me, but to help you if you want the help. So I hope that this will have some effect in some way to someone, though if not, that's fine. This is a personal journal after all, though. If you are listening to this and you are finding some sort of hope from it, that will mean the world to me, and and I'll keep going as a result. But so let's go on to about grief and death and why I'm experiencing it. So as I said, my mother passed away last week, and obviously that really shook me up. The fact of how sudden it was. So, 1 minute she's alive, next minute she isn't. Kind of, that's obviously how death works, but I mean, when I woke up, I didn't expect anything like that to happen. It was just a normal morning. She was happy, seemed quite in a cheerful mood. then suddenly had a turn at roughly in the afternoon. Within like after 2 or 3 hours, maybe after the turn, she's gone. She's, and there's not really much time to, process the death as a whole, because it's a big subject, and it's something, especially if you've never dealt with before, like I have properly, that it's something hard to take on and process through your mind. So, as a whole, death is as a whole goes through many stages. I find there's that idea of 5 stages of grief, the adaptive theory, that you go through denial, then anger, and then bargaining, depression, and I think acceptance is the end. And these are the 5 stages you go through. Though there's issues with that theory, or hypotheses if you want to be more scientific about it. Though there is some element to it, and I definitely felt the element of denial when she passed. Like, it never really happened. I mean, that doesn't help how sudden it was, obviously, but so I didn't have time to even come to realise it happened properly. But to feel denial while you've just seen her dead is a very weird thing to have going on in your head, because you have this cognitive dissonance of you don't want to believe it, but you've seen it with your own eyes. So it does kind of come to fruition that way. And even today, as I speak a week later after this experience, I still feel to a degree this denial. It's still kind of there. I mean, it's not as bad as it was, maybe, but it's still there, and I don't know how long it's gonna last, because I've never really experienced this before, and that's why I'm creating these journals, so how long would this do, so I can actually document how long my denial will last for. Will it last a week, will it last 2, will it last a month, who knows, maybe more. So, it's a very big thing to happen to someone, obviously, and this denial does kick in. I haven't really been full so much anger, I suppose, but maybe every now and then I might feel a bit angry with something, like a bit frustrated. Maybe it could be something so simple as trying to do a chore, and it's just difficult to do because I'm just not in the motivational mood to do it. Or it could be something on the lines of, quite abstract, like going on the topic of death as a whole, like why has this happened, why has she been taken away, and it's unfair that she's been taken away, so you can lash out for those reasons as well. And especially if that person's a good person, like me mum was, she helped so many people, she was an amazing person, she didn't deserve what happened to her. She was the last person who deserved the treatment of death, so why does she get it? And these types of questions will plague your mind, and you will lash out as a result, and that's understandable to me and to anyone listening, if you are listening indeed at this point. So, taking this in, death. What got to me really the most when it comes to death as a whole, is the things we build up during life is suddenly gone. So these things we cherish, like memories or wisdom we gain, and the experiences we gain through wisdom, or wisdom we gain through experiences, I suppose, is the more appropriate way of putting that, suddenly are erased. So, like, it kind of can bring this nihilistic thought process, like if that's the case, then what's the point? With nihilism, it's a bit, if you don't really so sure what nihilism is to us, I think it's kind of the existential nihilism I'm mainly talking about, which is the idea that there's no point to anything, like what's the point? So like you think of death happening, and because of what I just said before, like everything you knew and built up over time is erased, all your memories, all your wisdom, all your intelligence, all these things are gone. All the things you cherish like that are gone. What's the point? What's the point of learning? What's the point of making memories if they're just going to be taken away? And this can be created from, this idea of thinking. So it becomes difficult to comprehend that. So, but at the same time, with life being short, it can make us treasure these things more so than before. So, the fact that we only get to experience these beautiful sensations for a very short amount of time in the grand scheme of things, we can cherish them for that reason. If they were always with us, would we cherish them as much? Who knows? But, and then there also comes to the idea, of like Socrates said, where if you die, there's two ways of kind of looking at it. Where, if you were to die and let's say hypothetically there was no God and no afterlife, there's just dust, you're finito, you're gone, then you don't feel any sensation anyway. So the loss of these memories and things you cherished you'll no longer feel that loss. You'll no longer feel sad that it's no longer a thing, because you don't feel anything. You feel these negative emotions, you must be alive. And let's say an afterlife is real, then does that mean that means that our memories are still on living forever, if that makes sense? I'm trying to say these words, it's coming out quite badly. Essentially, the afterlife, if it does exist, our memories will live on for eternity in the afterlife, so you don't actually lose your memories. So both kind of stop that nihilism, I think, to kind of look at it from those perspectives, which I think is important to stop that sort of train of thought, because once you get into the idea that nothing is, there's nothing to anything, if you know what I mean. So, there's no point in doing anything. Then you're not going to live that way. You're going to be very miserable being that way. So, it's important to think about those ways. I suppose you can always go through the Stoic way of thinking about it, which is slightly different because to be alive you need to feel sensations, and so if when you're dead you no longer feel these sensations. And if you're worried about feeling pain or sadness about about yourself dying, then stoically looking at it is that a Stoic's way of looking at it will be, well, our sensations are no longer there, so what is to worry about? Because when you're dead, you're dead. The only time that you will feel that will be when you're dying. When you're still alive, but you're going to die, and especially if you've got a really painful death to go with it, you're going to experience horrible things then. And that part, I imagine, will be difficult to comprehend in some way, that it could happen to you or to me or to anyone. But at the same time, you don't know if it's going to happen at all that way. So it's a tricky one to look at it from that perspective, I suppose. But I think what worries me mostly about dying, and I think many other people will agree, it's not so much the fact that you're going to die, but the fact that when you are dead, other people are going to be affected by that, and other people are going to feel pain because of that. Because obviously those who you love, those who are close to you, are going to feel grief and sadness that you're gone. And that's sometimes hard to come to accept, but it's a thing that will happen, especially if you're a good person and you create a great family and you make great friends through your time being alive. There'll be a lot of people mourning over you. So the idea of dying or being dead can scare people in that way. So it comes to the fact of how do we befriend that fear. And in a way, it's kind of natural to be scared to die anyway, don't get me wrong, because it's innate in us, but at the same time it can paralyze us. So it's difficult to get all these things around inside your head, but just try not to think about it too much, because if you overthink these things, like I probably am myself at this point, which is because of grief, then you forget about the moment anyway, and then you're too busy worrying about death. Then when death comes to knock on your door, you haven't spent enough time being alive to really enjoy it. So it's important. But when it comes to worrying about what happens to your loved ones, you gotta remember that in order for your loved ones to feel that, way about you, you must feel the happiness that comes with you. Like I said before, I've never said this before, sorry. Like when it comes to life, it's kind of a dual thing, you know, there's always one with the other. There's never one without the other. You know, so with life, to feel pain, you must feel pleasure, and vice versa. And to have happiness, you must feel sorrow. To have, you know, darkness, you must have light. It's kind of, it's very philosophical, but it kind of, everything kind of comes at a price. There's a give and take, and it's better to feel that than to feel nothing, really. Like, because one of the things I've been feeling throughout this grief is numbness. Just feeling nothing at all, and I hate it. I hate the fact I can't properly feel sorrow. I can't properly feel sorrow and sadness because I'm so numb. I can't feel anything at times. Now, I'm not saying I don't feel sorrow or sadness at all, but I prefer feeling that because it feels more appropriate than feeling nothing at all. And think about that way. It's better to experience that love you have with people as well, the pain that comes with it, because it's better to feel that than feel nothing. Yeah, the people around you will mourn over you. Yeah, the people around you will feel awful that you have disappeared and you're no longer with them anymore. But at the same time, you've given them happiness to feel that, and and the more they feel it, the more happiness you probably gave them through their lives as a result. And that's kind of beautiful in a way, that you've managed to touch their lives that way, and they can then, what you've taught them and how you influence them will influence others, influence them around them. And that's again important, and your voice matters in that sense, and your actions do, because it's like a ripple. You know, you affect someone else today, and how you affect them will affect others, and they will carry on throughout time. So even if you are gone, your ripple will still be flowing outwards. And especially if you do art's a great way of keeping yourself alive in that sense, because when you create art, and that could be writing, music, martial art, painting, whatever type of art you like doing, it's great that you can express yourself that way and show everyone how you truly feel sometimes, because words not all the time anyway can express how you feel properly. Sometimes songs or / compositions or a painting or and so on, you know, whatever, dance, even whatever you want to express yourself, it's like it's a true form to express yourself in, because that doesn't lie. You don't, you know, what a musical piece, a painting or a movement of a body cannot lie. Words can, and sometimes words can't express the things you feel, and so on. So it's important that and not only this is the case, that when you make art, that's what happens, but also you're externally expressing yourself into the world that's always going to be there after you've gone. And when you have gone, that will still be there for everyone to listen to, or to like watch and to get inspiration from, and it will always be there. You don't know, like 100 years after you die and you're a musician, someone can discover your song out of nowhere and they get inspiration from that, and someone can get that inspiration and spread that onto someone else, and again it's like a ripple again, and you're constantly making those ripples, and there'll be a piece of you living on in the world even though you're not here anymore. And like the saying is, I once heard that we die twice, not once, you know, because the first time you die, it's when you actually die, of course, but the second time you die is when the last person on earth will say your name. So it's important to make that impact onto others, to keep yourself alive, and it's important for the living to keep the dead alive. You know, your families, your idols, the people who influenced you and made you the person you are today, keep their names alive, and and celebrate life instead of the death, if anything, and that's important to do in that in that retrospect. But though I say all this, it doesn't make it in some ways any easier. You know, the fact of like you will feel lost because it's normal for humans to feel that. You know, and if you don't feel that, I'll be kind of worried, if anything. But for example, the way I'm feeling now is complete loss. It's like a homesick feeling, you know, like there's just a piece of a puzzle that's not there, and it's completely disappeared, and it's just got that constant empty face in your mind, and you got that constant homesick feeling where, you know, you know, like if you ever been away somewhere and you miss home and you feel really, really sick, it's that same feeling, though I am home. You know, and it's crazy when you think it out. It's crazy feeling, and obviously those who have experienced grief listening on this will know this, of course, because like I said, you know, like this is for everyone to listen to. And if you are listening to this and you have gone through what I've gone through, or if you're right now going through what I'm going through, then, you know, don't be afraid to talk to people about this. Don't be afraid to open up, because it's not a weakness to open up. It's not it is that element of vulnerability, of course, but, you know, people who use that vulnerability are the issue, not yourself. Like, if they use that against you, you know, it's important sometimes to feel vulnerable, and sometimes it's important to open up and express how you feel, because it helps us to move on. It helps us to come to terms with things. It helps us all to support each other as a unit. And if you are listening to this and you are feeling this way, don't be afraid to tell someone about it, to tell the world about it even. It's not selfish. It's not, you know, egotistical in any way. As I said, you can help people by doing that, and you can help yourself. Like, that's why I'm trying to do this, and it's important to know that, because I think people don't want to express themselves too much, which is fine. You don't have to. It's a complete individual. Like I said, grief, like I've been told, grief is a individual thing, and we all feel it differently. Though we are going through the same sensation, it's all experience in perspective different. So don't be afraid to, you know, talk about it to someone. Like, talk to me about it. If you want to come to me and talk about it, I'm happy to listen to, if I can, obviously. Depends on how many people I've got talking to me at once. I'm not saying I'm popular, but, you know, if I'm happy to try and talk to as many people as I can in my time to help them out and to help them through what I'm feeling, just how though many people around me have helped me through how I felt in the past and how I feel now at this moment. And I'm grateful for all of you who have messaged me and made sure I'm okay and been there for me through this time and through the times I've had in my past as well. And I appreciate everyone who has done that, and I will pay them back as much as I can, and I'll do it for those in the future who I meet. So it's important to do that, and just remember, don't let it build up. That's all I'm asking, because if you let it build up, it will eat you from the inside out, and you don't want that. In the long run, you will be worse, and I don't want that to happen to anyone. So always remember, I am here. You are here in this world. So express yourself and don't be afraid to. Anyway, I feel like I'll leave it at this for now until my next series or episode, whatever you want to call it. Sorry. I'm still, gonna keep doing this at a weekly schedule. So if you do want to hear another episode of this, you will be hearing it again next week with a different subject. But so I will hopefully be maybe a bit different next week. My grief might be a bit better, might be worse. We don't know until we get there. That's the beauty about this digital journal. We don't know where it's going to head to, and where my feelings are going to head to, and so on. So I will give it another week and see what happens, and we will talk about a different subject in my life. And I promise next time won't be as heavy as this one, though there might be few of them in the future that might be just as heavy, don't get me wrong. But conversely, this next one I'll make a bit more lighthearted for those who are listening. So I will see you next time, and take care.